Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about sociology and let's start with the definition.
Sociology, this is a science which is dedicated to learning how people behave in groups, in huge one and small ones. For example, it could be like political parties, or it could be like nations, it could be like countries, or it could be like crowds on the squares in the towns. And sociology has a really great impact in last 20 or 25 years, because after Second World War, people are united by television, by radio, and right now by internet. And if you want to collect a huge amount of people somewhere, you could make it in several posts or tweets.
Well, obviously, when we speak about people, there might be like a different groups or different expectations that we might have from them. So, what might be the use cases, or maybe like the one who actually need to control, monitor, or manage or guide people from the impact point of view?
There is several directions we could discuss. First is so-called window of overtone. That is so-called phenomenon. If you want to tell people something they will not accept at once, you should start to talk about this. For example, like cannibalism. Is it okay to say cannibalism?
Cannibalism.
Cannibalism. For example, I will tell to everyone, let's move to this to cannibalism. We burn the bodies of our people who close by, but they have a lot of very specific vitamins and food, and everyone will be in disgust mood. What you proposing to do? You want us to eat this disgusting bodies? They are stink. Okay, let's think that we will be on the lonely boat in the middle of the ocean. Would you eat it if you have nothing to eat? Okay, maybe. Okay, if we will go in the space and we will have we will run out of our food, would you eat this? Yes, maybe. If we will mix it with some seasonings and we will make it like meatballs, and we will not tell to anyone that we eat man from the man flesh, and everyone will say, come on, in some situation it could be. And you know how it's moving from position it couldn't be and never to position yes, it could be acceptable in some obstacles. The same could be done with everything. For example, we'll say no abortion to our women, no weapons in our hands, no drugs in our stores, and so on. But sometimes you will hear something like, okay, if you'll allow to buy easy, I don't know how to say, легкий наркотик, easy drug,
Yeah, light drugs.
light drugs, it will reduce the amount of hard criminal cases, and it sounds like logic and so on. If we'll, for example, will try to go against alcohol, they'll say so many people are dying because of drunk drivers and so on, and some people could be turning around in a very swift mode. So this is kind of dealing with crowds. Second, for example, we have person who are intended to go to election, for example, to some executive house or some well-known committee, and this person is nothing and no one knows, and you could calculate time when you should show this face. If you will make it like 7 months before the election, you will come through all the stages. No one knows, some knows, well known and famous. But if you will make it in a very fast way, like 2 weeks, you couldn't be in time.
And actually, because we like touched on a couple of interesting cases, I would say like it might be like for different audiences, also might be like a sensitive cases. Obviously, the person who would make a decision to move to the certain area, they also need to consider some sort of like a moral stamp or like anything else. Or maybe they actually can look into the things in more like pragmatic way. I would say like they just would have like an Excel spreadsheet and see like how exactly certain arguments might be, like posted. So how when we're trying to make a decision to convince or maybe change people's mind, like where is the border of where we can't really go, like where we can say no to, or where we will be like a very pragmatic and actually find good words, a good like signs or good tricks in order to make people to move into the right direction.
You're quite right in the word pragmatic. For example, someone will establish a war, and no wives, no mothers wants their children and husband to fight. But if you will find proper words, it would happen. Do you know this very well-known case how U.S. America was involved in the Second World War? It was a small incident in the ocean when U-boat of Germans, they submerged one big ship, and there were several thousand of deaths. If we will compare this to how many people were died on the front line, it's almost nothing. But it was like, I don't know how to say, it was not a cause, it was povod. How to say?
A reason or a spark, like a fire spark.
It was like a spark. It was like a reason. So sometimes you could prepare people to say something. Okay, it couldn't happen, but if it will happen, we will fight until the last of us will stay on the ground. And suddenly something will happen, and you will say, "Wow, who could imagine? We just several days were talking about this, and now it's happened. We were already dedicated to this. We have waited, and now it's a time." Do you know that right now we have a really huge war between Israel and Palestine, and suddenly Israeli special forces, they found under the Gaza a lot of so-called tunnels under the 10, 20, and 30 meters in the ground, and they were discovering that this was built during the last 13 years. 13 years. So someone was so convincing to say to a lot of people to say we should make it very hidden. It's very hard to do. I couldn't imagine that Maxim, you and me, we will dig some tunnels and no one will know. So it could be done just if you are good sociologist. Yes, okay, it was help of religion and so on. But anyway, this is working with a crowd.
Somehow it reminds me of the movie Shawshank Redemption, where the guy actually was digging something and putting and keeping everything in his pocket, which he would like let go while he was walking. And when it comes to actually, like when we have two trends of the sociology, or like two groups of the sociologists, and their goals actually contradicting, and the object and the subject is like have the conflict of interest. So how to deal with it, let's say when we in one group, or maybe we are the one who is being like influenced by like contrary opinions.
It was an easy one, and maybe you will help me to translate. We have a skill so-called like theory of games, and there is a theme which is called like cider is going to be the same as politicians. If you want to sell a lot of beer or cider, is it okay to say cider?
Cider.
Cider. Okay, sorry, Maxim. If you want to, okay, let's be close to the original. If you want to sell a lot of cider, you could think not what you want to produce, but you want to check what people drink. And in this particular reason, after several years, all ciders are staying the same, almost the same, and you could not make a difference. Sometimes you will drink, for example, beer, and you will ask a person, Maxim, is it that beer that I like? And suddenly you will say, no, this is my favorite beer. In next time we will drink your beer, and suddenly you will realize, and I will realize, I am drinking your lively beer, but it has the same taste as mine. The same with politicians. Politicians always start to talk contradictory or orthogonal, and there is a vision that they couldn't be close in their words and in their thoughts. But suddenly, approximately 2 weeks before the election, they start to be more soft, and they start to shift to the middle of the opinion, and suddenly people are mixed. They couldn't understand. All politicians starting to become the same.
Well, yeah, as you said, like as you rightfully said, it's like a cider started tasted the same across the board. And when it comes to like misusage or maybe misunderstanding of the principles of the sociology, what possible mistakes or maybe like a misuse people could make?
Let me remind one story. I read it when I was learning at school. Is it okay to say learning at school or studying in school? I mix it up all the time. Okay, that was a very short story, but I remember it well, and I have a lot of time improvement of this rights. There was ancient time, and people were just going to organize tribe, and this was a guy who came to another tribe, and they helped him to feed them, to make him sleep, and so on. And he was thinking how to make how to be thankful to them. And he took off his I don't know how to say, like воротник collar, his collar made from fox skin, entire skin with tail and with legs and so on, and gave it to the leader of this tribe. Suddenly he found that this leader take it with great pleasure and started to cut it in small pieces. And this guy was astonished in the story. And he asked, "What are you doing, chief? This makes sense when it is thing is whole. Do not cut it on pieces." But suddenly chief told, "If I will give to everyone small piece of happiness, everyone would be happy. I do not want to have happy for everyone." The same, you know, for example, I was working in Africa, and in several villages we were forced to take them down because there would be big digging in the ground. There are some, I don't know how to say, resources, useful resources, полезные ископаемые.
Maybe commodities.
Commodities, okay. And these guys suddenly came to me, sit around and make some strange ritual. And I asked them, "What are you doing?" And they say, "You know, you're going to make a bad deal, плохое дело, bad deal, yes?
Bad deal.
Bad deal.
Bad business.
Bad business. You're trying to disconnect us from our духи, souls,
spirits,
with our spirits, with our land, and so on. And we have a ritual. Every one of us will tell you how good you are in something, and maybe you will convinced by our thoughts. Okay, I couldn't understand almost nothing, but I have been thinking and I have been imagining how deeply they were trying to convince me not to break them with land. Unfortunately, I have a contract. I was young. I was definitely wrong. But, you know, this is quite good ritual. If you are attempting to make a bad habit, or maybe you already done something bad, all village will come to you and say how good you are, how good was your brother, sister, and parents, and so on. It was really funny. In another country, it's I don't know, I couldn't remember. It was in territory which was called Rhodesia, if I'm not mistaken. This is a place for bloody diamonds, by the way. And the same was situation, and suddenly some scientists, they asked for boys and girls, "I will give you this chocolate bar for someone who will run faster than others. So the winner will have it." Suddenly, all these children take by the hands, and they came simultaneously to the tree, which was the aim of the game. And the scientists asked them, "But why? Every one of you could have it by yourself, by whole bar." But they say, "We don't need whole bar. We need some small piece, but for everyone."
Well, this is a good mindset to have, like even in a small kid. And my last question will be how knowing about sociology could help to make this world a better place.
Maxim, I'm quite technician, not like you. You're an artist, you draw pictures and so on. I just work with mechanism, with machines, and I don't was attempting to learn sociology. But after living in some countries, in Japan, in Korea, in some African countries for several weeks, suddenly I realized that I couldn't understand people. And you know, the same was in Africa. I was trying to learn Swahili. This is so-called a mixture of English, Afrikaans, and some other languages. And suddenly one guy told me, "Better speak English, French, or German, because if you will talk Swahili, we will think that you are witch, колдун."
The witch.
The witch, yes? Okay, you are the witch. And I asked why. And he told me, "Our predecessors, they were thinking that no one from not from Africa couldn't learn Swahili, better not to intend to learn." And it was very funny. And I was so upset. And he told me Ubuntu. And I asked him, "What does mean Ubuntu?" And suddenly he explained, Ubuntu You exist because I exist, and I exist because you exist. And I was thinking, how deep this knowledge? Maybe I should learn sociology, and maybe we'll have our podcast about Ubuntu and some other stuff from sociology. But from this time, I learn rituals of different countries, and probably you too, staying right now in Dubai after Singapore, after living in Russia and Kazakhstan, you could find a lot of distinctions, and some of them are funny, but some of them very useful. And maybe even you think right now, maybe I should transfer this to my hometown, to my family, to my home country.
Некоторые привычки стоят того, чтобы менять свое местоположение. А мы рассмотрели навык социология и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира.